Welcome to Cadeau and Janco Wednesdays at Lunch Christmas Edition. This is a special episode of the podcast that we put together for you this week, featuring every guest that we've had on the show to date. So we hope you enjoy, and happy holidays.
Our story begins with lowly old Sebanezer Scrooge walking through the cold winter night with a paper bag full of burgers in his hand. His head is down and his shoulders hunched as he hurries through the city streets. Just then, a huddled beggar with a small dog reaches out.
Spare some change.
Sorry, man. I ain't got nothing.
How about one of them burgers?
Whoa, buddy. Now you're pushing it.
Have a heart. It's Christmas.
Bah, hamburger.
Sebanezer runs off, sparing no sympathy for the beggar who reminded him of exactly what time of year it was. On Christmas Eve 7 years earlier, Sebanezer's podcasting partner, Janco Marley, had died of a heart attack.
Christmas again already? I hate this time of year. Just reminds me of poor old Janco. I told him that he should cut back on the salt, but he wouldn't listen. No matter. At the end of the day, it just means more burgers for me.
As Sebanezer returns to his podcast studio, he is greeted by Nicholas Dratchett. Ever since Jacob's death, Dratchett has been the show intern with the thankless task of listening to the ramblings of old Sebanezer and censoring all of his vulgarities.
Hey, Sebanezer, how are ya?
No time for pleasantries. How's the idea on that latest episode of the podcast?
Well, not so great, honestly. I don't think people really want to listen to a grumbly old miser talk to himself about lunch for an hour every week.
Bah! And I suppose you think that you should get some more airtime? Make more of a back and forth? Bah, hamburger. You had your guest appearance, and Dick Hans hasn't stopped hounding me about it.
Sebanezer, maybe you should take a week off for the holidays. Recharge your batteries a little. It might be a good idea to leave the listeners wanting a little more, you know? Plus, it's Christmas. I wouldn't mind spending a little time with the wife and my boy Tim.
A week off? Don't you understand? It's a weekly podcast. If I take a week off, what does it become? Some sort of fly-by-night show that comes out whenever I feel like it? I don't think so. You can go spend time with your precious family when that podcast is online and you've posted to all of the social media.
All right, Mr. Scrooge, I'm sorry I said anything.
And why don't we have any merchandise to sell yet?
Just then, Sebanezer receives a phone call from his old friend inviting him over for a holiday feast, sure to be filled with drink and revelry.
Hello?
Hey, Sebanezer. I'm just calling to see if you'll be coming to the St. Crispin's Eve feast tonight. We got nog and booze and a ton of food. You just have to bring yourself. But no burgers.
No burgers? What's even the point?
Well, you know you can't only eat burgers, right? It can't be good for you.
Bah, hamburger. Regardless, I have to record a podcast tonight.
All right, man. Have a happy holidays. Maybe we'll see you next year.
Have fun with your party.
As old Sebanezer hangs up the phone, Dratchett cautiously peeks his head into the podcasting studio.
So I've got the podcast uploaded, and I posted it to the social media accounts. If you want, you can check for yourself on Twitter and Instagram. It's @BurgerEdition and Facebook.com/BurgerEdition.
All right. You clearly want to go home, so get out of here. I'll be sending you another podcast edit tonight, and I expect it to be in my inbox tomorrow morning for my approval.
But Sebanezer, it's Christmas Eve.
Christmas smishmas. What do I pay you for anyway?
You don't. I'm an unpaid intern.
Well, it's good for your CV. Now be gone with you.
Now, all alone, Scrooge settled in to eat his bag of burgers in preparation to record yet another lonely podcast. As he finishes his last few morsels of ground beef, Sebanezer lets out a bellowing belch and hits record as the clock strikes 12.
Welcome to Cadeau Wednesdays at Lunch, Burger Edition. This week, I went to Charlevoix Pizza to see how well a crappy pizza place does a burger. Now, before I actually get into that, I just want to say that on my way back from buying these burgers, I was accosted. That's right, some hobo asked me for money. And when I told him that I didn't have any, he asked for my burgers. Can you imagine that? Doesn't he know that I have a podcast to record? I can't spare any of my burgers. For the sanctity of the review, I need to at least eat a few of their burgers.
Just then, Scrooge pauses as he hears a strange sound. Chains rattle and footsteps can be heard in the empty studio.
Hello? Is anyone there?
Sebanezer Scrooge. Sebanezer Scrooge.
Don Pardo? Is that the ghost of classic SNL announcer Don Pardo?
No, Sebanezer. Have you forgotten about me already?
Jacob? Jacob Marley, is that you?
Yes, Sebanezer, it's me, your old podcasting partner. Remember how this used to be our show? How we ate burgers together every week?
It was even that hashtag LaBurger Week where we had a burger every day.
Exactly. For my gluttony I died and have been cursed to carry these chains for the rest of eternity. And I'm wearing the wrong pants for the afterlife. You will face a fate even worse than mine if you don't change your ways, Sebanezer.
But how? What can I do? The show must go on. I can't just stop eating burgers.
Tonight, you will be visited by 3 ghosts. Listen to what they tell you and do as they say to avoid having a heart attack and suffering an eternity for your selfish ways.
So was it because of all that salt?
The salt didn't help matters. Now heed my warnings. Your very soul is at stake. Fare thee well, Sebanezer.
With that, Janco Marley's ghost vanished, leaving old Scrooge alone and scared about what might come next. He listened back to the recording, but as usual, the only voice he heard was his own. He began to question if he was losing his mind, or perhaps it was the tainted meat from the questionable burgers.
Whew. I've got some meat sweats. Those must have been some really bad burgers. I'm having hallucinations. All right, back to the podcast. So here's an important note about these burgers. Be prepared to have some visions. I just ate a few of these burgers and I don't think I feel very good because either a ghost just warned me to stop eating burgers or my subconscious was warning me about how bad the meat I just ate was. Either way, this place will not be getting a great rating. Now, if this is your first time listening, I should take this opportunity to go over our rating scale. So, 10 is a $100 burger. You don't need to spend $100 on it, but it needs to taste like you do.
As Sebanezer rambled on, explaining his faulty rating system yet again, the first ghost that Jankum had warned him of materialized in front of him.
We know. A 7 is a good burger, a 5 is just fine, 0 is a poison burger. You don't have to repeat it every time. It's a simple 1 to 10 scale.
For the love of Wendy! Who are you? How'd you get in here?
Janko didn't tell you about us? I'm the ghost of Burger's Pass. He was supposed to give you a heads up.
Oh no, I just didn't think it was real. I thought I had food poisoning.
Well, that meat was definitely tainted. You know, you don't have to go around eating every burger in town. There are some that we could just safely assume are going to be awful.
I've been doing this podcast all alone for years now. I've totally run out of good burgers to review.
That's kind of the point. All right, buddy, grab onto me. Hold on tight. I've got something to show you.
And with that, the ghost takes hold of Scrooge and flies out into the night. As they soar over the smoking spires and twinkling Christmas lights of the Montreal skyline, Sebanezer yelps and curses in fear.
What's wrong, Scrooge? I thought you liked looking down on others.
Only figuratively? Where are you taking me?
Just wait and see.
They come to a stop outside the window of a suburban McDonald's restaurant. Inside sits a young Sebanezer with his family. His mother pleads with him to eat his Happy Meal, but he is fixated on the Super Mario toy that came with his food.
Is that me?
That's right. How things change, huh? Look at that skinny little kid. He has no real interest in burgers. He's just in it for the toy.
Well, I was just a dumb little kid back then. I had no true appreciation for burgers yet.
Maybe you just weren't obsessed yet. All right, I got something else to show you. Hang on.
Oh no, not again.
Once more, the spirit takes them off into the sky, this time headed to the American South to visit another member of Sebanezer's family. They descend and approach a Southern-style barbecue restaurant. Inside sits Scrooge with his beloved cousin, Seba May. They are laughing together as they enjoy burgers and beers.
So the lady doesn't have any napkins, and so instead she licks the kid's face and then just leaves. And the kid turns around and says, "She licked my face." And I'm like, I know, and I don't care. Oh, Sebanezer, you should come down these parts more often. It's fun to get drunk with you. Well, maybe next time you should head up to Montreal. You've always got a place to stay with me, Sebamezer. Well, maybe I will. Oh, how I love the time we spend together. Yeah, me too.
Soon you'd come to love burgers far more than the people you shared them with.
What are you talking about, Ghost? Sebamezer slept over at my place for like a week this past summer.
Yeah, but you weren't much of a gracious host, shaming her for all the alcohol she drank while in town. Look at you here. While you were on vacation, you spent the entire time liquored up.
I guess I'm beginning to see your point, but that one was more about alcohol than burgers, to be honest.
Let's not get nitpicky on the details, okay?
And in an instant, Scrooge had returned to his lonely podcast studio, now filled with regret over how he had treated his cousin. He was now too rattled to continue recording the show, so he shut down his computer and pondered about what he could have done differently. But then, with a flash of light, another ghost appeared before him.
Wow, Lord, you guys are spooky scary.
Well, I am the ghost of burgers present. What exactly were you expecting when a ghost told you you'd be visited by 3 more ghosts?
I'm not really sure. I mean, Janco just kind of walked in. But he was always able to jimmy the lock even when he was alive, so I kind of thought...
We're getting into the weeds a little bit on how this spirit business works. It's really not the point of this whole thing.
Sure. So I guess you're going to fly me off to visit some pleasant memory of a time I'll never be able to recapture as well?
Well, that would be pretty redundant, and flying around was never my style anyway.
All right. Wherever you plan on going, I'm just going to take a shower fast. I never leave home without taking a shower.
No. I've got stuff to do tonight. We've got to get going.
So with a snap of his fingers, the ghost transports Sebanezer to Kevin's apartment where all of his friends are enjoying a plentiful holiday bounty of food and drink. As they tell stories and laugh and sing, Scrooge looks around the room in disbelief.
All my friends are here. Hey guys, good to see you.
They can't see or hear you. You're really not catching on to this whole ghost thing, are you?
Well, I just thought I'm not dead, so I can't be a ghost.
Again, we're getting into the weeds a little bit.
So, did you hear from Sebanezer? Anybody hear from Sebanezer? Sebanezer coming? Sebanezer in the house?
I don't think so. Said he's gonna eat some more burgers and do another podcast or something. I don't know what his deal is.
No, guys, I'm here.
All right, get over it. Listen, I got something else I need to show you before my shift is up, so let's keep this train rolling, shall we?
And with yet another snap of his ghostly fingers, the spirit transports them to the exterior of Nick Dratchett's home, where he and his family are preparing for a far more modest feast of their own.
Sorry I'm late again, hon. Mr. Scrooge had me stay after work.
I can't believe it. He made you stay late on Christmas Eve?
I know. He said Christmas schmish something. Then he said bah hamburger, whatever that means.
Hamburger? We'd be lucky if we were able to have as many hamburgers as that selfish jerk. All we can afford for dinner are these measly Salisbury steaks. Now sit down, they're getting cold. Tim, dinner's ready!
Into the room walks an emaciated little boy who greets his loving father before climbing up onto his chair at the dinner table. The boy bows his head and clasps his hands in prayer before cutting into his modest meal.
What's wrong with Dratchett's kid? Why is he so tiny?
Without any pay for all the work Dratchett does for you, he can't afford the food that a growing boy needs. And if things don't change, there's going to be no more than a shadow in that chair.
Do you mean what I think you mean? Ghost? Ghost? You can't leave yet? What will happen to Tim?
The scene grows dark as a black figure looms over Sebanezer. With an outstretched finger, the dark spirit points towards a foggy graveyard.
Seriously? You trying to tell me that Tim died?
Have a look for yourself, Sebanezer.
As Scrooge cautiously ventures forth into the cemetery, he reads the names on the tombstones as he passes them. He sees the headstone for Janco Marley, Tim Dratchett, and then finally, at the head of a freshly covered plot, he reads the epitaph. Here lies Sebanezer Scrooge. He loved burgers more than any man.
No. I've accomplished so little in my life. Spirit, this can't be. Am I dead? Did I die after all?
No, that would be predictable. I am the ghost of burgers yet to come. What you see here is only a possible future. However, it's a likely one if you continue on with your gluttonous ways.
No, this can't be. I made a rule for myself. I can't have burgers on consecutive days. Sure, some days I eat multiple burgers, but still.
That's stupid and wrong-headed.
And Tim, I can't have his death weighing on my conscience. Spirit, tell me what I can do to avoid this awful future.
There are many things that can be done to alter the flow of the sands of time. But you, Sebanezer, I doubt you have the mental capacity or the willpower.